It doesn't mean that we won't have currencies like the yen and the dollar and the peso and the yuan and the euro. It doesn't mean that people won't invest in real estate or in Apple stock or Google or in natural gas fields. It doesn't mean that there won't be other companies creating new stuff. It doesn't mean there won't be art. It doesn't mean there won't be digital art. It doesn't mean all these other things. What it means is you think that Bitcoin is an instrument of economic empowerment to the world.
MicroStrategy, led by crypto billionaire Micheal Saylor, has acquired 12,333 Bitcoin for $347 million in cash between April 29th and June 27th. This purchase adds to their existing holdings, bringing their total Bitcoin count to 152,333, valued at over $4.6 billion at current prices. As one of the largest Bitcoin holders, MicroStrategy remains actively involved in the cryptocurrency market. In addition to their Bitcoin investment, MicroStrategy disclosed the sale of approximately $333.7 million worth of shares in May. This move was made to support their Bitcoin holdings. Despite this share sale, the company reported a smaller than expected write-down for the first quarter on their Bitcoin investments. During pre-market trading, MicroStrategy's shares experienced a 1% decline, trading at $321.44. Bitcoin also saw a decrease of over 1%, with a value of $30,288. In a recent interview, Micheal Saylor expressed his concerns about cryptocurrency adoption, specifically focusing on Bitcoin's journey from uncharted waters to becoming one of the most powerful digital assets in the world.
Please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to drop your comment and observations in the comment section below. Thanks and enjoy the video.
Ignorance in the political sphere would cause some powerful politician to want to ban it, right? I mean, if you look at the ladder of Bitcoin appreciation, people start at the bottom rung, which is the Bitcoin denier. And they think Bitcoin is tulip bulbs or Bitcoin is a Ponzi scheme, and that's like the Peter Schiff denial. And we're way beyond that. And then they move to the next level, which is Bitcoin skeptic. Bitcoin is a digital commodity. It works. You can send value between two parties without a trusted intermediary. It's an innovation, but it's too good to be true, and the government's going to ban it. Right. Lots of people said that about 2 years ago. I mean, Ray Dalio said that, Jamie Dimon said that, Larry Fink kind of implied that, it used to be that there were a lot of very powerful, successful, either politicians or powerful, successful money managers that were skeptics. And in the last 24 months, those skeptics have been largely silenced. When the head of the CFTC says Bitcoin's a digital commodity and we're going to support it, and when the head of the SEC says Bitcoin is a digital commodity, we're going to support it, and when the head of the Central Bank of Europe and the Central Bank of the United States say, yeah, it's a digital asset, we recognize it, we're not going to block it, we're not moving against it. When the government says, well, we need to embrace it, when you have 4 political candidates, 4. Do you know in the history of the United States, I don't think there's ever been an example where you had 4 political candidates running for president endorsing a new asset. I mean, it would be similar to, I guess, if you had the leading Republican and the leading Democratic candidate saying, we think every American deserves to own their own home, and we're going to sponsor legislation to make it cheap and easy for them to own their own home. Maybe something like that, right? But it's sort of up there. So at this point, it's kind of hard to say that skeptics are winning the day, right? The skeptics are being shouted down. They're out of the mainstream. The Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, New York Times, CNBC, a bunch of senators, a bunch of Congress persons, the head of the Senate Finance Committee, or the House Finance Committee. I think they all acknowledge that Bitcoin is here to stay. In fact, Jerome Powell just yesterday, right, was asked this point blank in congressional testimony and said, yeah, I think it's not going away.
According to Micheal Saylor, all the doubters of Bitcoin have now fallen silent and no longer have a voice to criticize it. He believes that Bitcoin should be the top priority for any well-meaning individual or citizen since it has the potential to save them, their families, and their countries. Micheal Saylor emphasizes that Bitcoin is a digital asset that should be accessible to everyone. Now, let's return to the video.
8 billion people are deprived of property rights. And they don't have a bank they can trust, and they don't have scarce, desirable property. And people in Indonesia or Africa or South America, they don't have the option to buy city blocks in New York City. They can't even buy a square foot in New York City. New York City is a decent investment idea. Lots of rich people got rich by investing in New York City, but it's not the best idea. The best idea is Cyber Manhattan for everybody. So Bitcoin in that way is ethically superior to Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, Alibaba, WeChat. Those are all great companies. And as a technocrat, you can invest in those because you say they're going to 10x, right? I did. I made a lot of money, invested in Apple, invested in Amazon. I said, well, they're obviously going to stomp everybody. 25,000 retailers fail. Amazon succeeds. Walmart and Target barely keep up, right? That's the story of retail in the past 20 years. So yeah, I'm a technocrat, but I don't pretend that Amazon, is the ethical solution to the problems of people in Indonesia or Nigeria. I don't even think Amazon pretends, right? Right. And Apple clearly is not the solution to people in China, and nor is Google. Google's banned in China. So Bitcoin is special because it's not a company, right? When we talk about an asset without an issuer, there's an economic implication. It's superior to a company that's a digital monopoly because there's no attack surface. The Chinese and the Europeans can target Google, Apple, and Facebook, because they're not Chinese and they're not European. But you can't target a non-company that's everywhere and nowhere. There is no headquarters. There is no management team. There's no CEO to subpoena, right? So when a government in Central Africa decides to deprive all of their citizens of property rights and say, you're not allowed to have Bitcoin, well, there's no Bitcoin CEO to arrest, right? Or subpoena or put on an Interpol notice warrant on our red notice on. So Bitcoin is nation state resistant, and it is profoundly ethical because I can start a company in China that offers Bitcoin services to the Chinese, and I don't have to be Apple to do it. And I can start a company in Nigeria and a different one in Argentina and a different one in Russia and a different one in Ukraine and a different one in Siberia and a different one in fill in the blank. And the politics are going to lurch back and forth. But ultimately, the conclusion is life is pretty hopeless for billions and billions of people around the world without Bitcoin. And with Bitcoin, a poor Uber driver or tour guide in Central Africa has the same property rights as a billionaire on the Upper East Side of New York City with an army of lawyers whose brother is the governor. And you can't say that about anything else. And you're not going to be able to hold out, shares of Apple stock as the moral equivalent for the next 100 years.
Fidelity, a major asset management giant, has refiled paperwork for its Wise Origin Bitcoin Trust, a spot Bitcoin ETF. This move comes after BlackRock's iShares unit submitted similar paperwork for the iShares Bitcoin Trust. Fidelity's previous attempt to launch the trust was rejected by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission in 2022. Other companies like Invesco and WisdomTree have also filed similar applications. Fidelity's latest filing includes a surveillance sharing agreement with an undisclosed U.S. spot-based Bitcoin trading platform to address SEC concerns about market manipulation. Institutional activity has driven increased Bitcoin investment by U.S. investors, leading to the cryptocurrency's recent price gains and higher trading volume during U.S. market hours. Bitcoin has outperformed other cryptocurrencies, surging 85% this year. Financial heavyweights like BlackRock, Fidelity, and Citadel getting involved with Bitcoin have fueled investor optimism. Meanwhile, smaller cryptocurrencies face challenges due to regulatory scrutiny and the rise of unregistered securities trading platforms. Bitcoin's recent surge has coincided with its detachment from the performance of U.S. equities like the S&P 500 and Nasdaq indices. Its negative correlation with these indices suggests that U.S. traders are turning to Bitcoin for portfolio diversification. The growing interest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies has led to rapid adoption rates and a notable shift in sentiment. The approval of these ETF filings by the SEC is highly anticipated, and the future of ETFs remains uncertain. Share your thoughts on the potential outcomes in the comments section below. For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.